大家好，歡迎大家繼續收睇週一長談呢個節目，我哋節目主持人姚永安。今日同大家討論呢，就係呢個毒品嘅問題，而請呢位專家呢，就除咗係市議員之外呢，佢本身亦都係BC 大學研究毒品問題嘅專家。咁就我哋上一集咧已經講咗好多，即係關於 fentanyl 同埋點樣毒品過量致死，同埋好多點解啲人上癮嘅問題㗎啦。咁呢一集咧。下半節咧，我哋想同大家講下咧，就係話究竟我哋唐人平時嘅一啲觀點，又或者係即係解決毒品嘅問題，係咪真係行得通嘅咧？咁我真係要問下呢位唐人嘅專家 Kerry。Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
OK. 咁我首先就想問下你啦。咁我哋唐人好多時都覺得就係話，即係毒品呢啲嘢咧，就加拿大政府啊行錯方向啦。咁就又話要大麻合法化，又話要呢個開設呢個安全注射屋，咁其實咁樣咧，只係會縱容呢個毒販或者吸毒者，令到更加多人吸毒嘅。咁而真真正嘅做法咧，應該係禁，用一個強硬嘅方法係去處理，好似中國同埋新加坡咁樣。咁我就想問下你點樣睇法啦
If it was that easy, we'd do it. But it's not that easy. And what that forgets is, of course, is the addict themselves and the person who's actually quite sick. Our approach is really to take it as a healthcare issue, and the proof is what's happened in Europe. In the 1990s, the European Union suffered a huge number of overdose deaths and overdoses, and what they did was actually treat it like a healthcare problem. They said that if you're an addict, what we're going to do is give you clean drugs by prescription. What that will do is you don't have to buy the dirty stuff on the street anymore. You'll know what you're getting. A doctor's looking after you, and year by year give you less and less and less until you're clean. And then once you're clean, they give you psychological and psychiatric supports such that you stay off drugs forever. What we've seen in the United States is trying to eradicate drugs, but people will always find a way of bringing it in. And this is what our police are saying. Fentanyl is one of those things. If you only need 3 tiny micrograms, you could send it in a letter, and you have enough to pollute the drug supply for months. And that's not going to work. If you lock up the addict, how does that help? It costs you a lot of money in jail time, and really, we know from the United States and other and Canadian jurisdictions, people, as soon as they leave jail, go right back out in the street and do drugs again. Once they're clean doesn't mean they stay clean forever. You need to support them and make sure they get the doctors and the psychiatrists and psychologists support all the way through. The other thing I think is an interesting myth is that I know that people think that there are very few addicts in China and Singapore and places like that. That's simply not true. It's just simply underreported. I know that my colleagues at the universities in China often give us reports saying that they're seeing a growing problem with drug addiction. As Chinese become more wealthy over there, they're looking for new ways to spend their money, new ways of enjoying life. They treat it recreationally, almost as if it's trying a new bottle of wine. And we're starting to see that increase. And I know that the Chinese government has contacted many of us at UBC about, okay, well, how should we be dealing with this? Because just simply eradicating it isn't working. If you try to put all the addicts into jail, well, there's enough other addicts who will always take their place. So instead of working on the law and order side, let's work with the patient. If you get the patient clean, give them clean drugs, help them get over, using those clean drugs, taper it off so they get better, so they don't need it anymore, and support them until they can do it on their own, you've taken away the reason to buy drugs, and that will kill the market.
但係個問題就係話，好多人都擔心，始終呢啲係毒品嚟㗎嘛。如果你話真係政府係好似當係藥物咁樣，係配方處方，由醫生處方，俾佢哋去買一啲正式嘅毒品咁樣去食嘅話，咁食咗毒品之後會上癮同埋係會 high 㗎嘛？咁如果係咁嘅話，會唔會即係令到佢哋成世都係即係食呢啲毒品？同埋另一樣嘢就係話，會唔會變咗就係話，咦幾過癮喎？邊個又食，邊個又食，咁要唔要我都試下？咁越嚟越多人即係上咗癮啦。
Well, that of course means that of course assumes you can just get drugs anywhere. What you got to do is we're talking of prescription heroin, prescription opioids, prescription diacetylmorphine, prescription Dilaudid, all those different forms of medication or prescription opiates, if you like, have to be controlled by a doctor, and that's how they do it in Europe. You just can't go out and buy, you just can't go to your doctor and say, hey, I need some prescription opiates. The doctor will say no. In fact, the clinical guidelines are very clear. They've been revised to make it actually quite hard for people to get prescription opiates. But the problem is that if you are an addict, it should be made easier for them to get the opiates they need so they don't have to buy it on the street. But for everybody else, like you or me, I have to have a damn good reason to get a painkiller.
No, but how about say a friend actually share or actually the drugs was being stolen by a friend to try it and then become addicted?
Well, this is what they also do in Europe. They have a great education campaign going on. And it's no different than when you're in hospital and then the nurse says to you after surgery, well, here, press this button whenever you feel pain. Most patients think twice about pressing that button whenever they want because they know that they can get hooked. And it's about education. And we got to start with kids very young. Just as now we say to kids, don't smoke, it causes lung cancer. What do we see? The rates of smoking in Canada are at the very lowest rates it's ever been. We start alcohol training. That's a legal drug, right? Very early on, don't drink and drive. You know, drinking alcohol will destroy your brain and all that kind of thing. And so we have the lowest rates of kids actually trying alcohol. We don't have any of those programs right now on opiates, really, right? Everything is now, just don't do it. But we don't really tell the kids when's the appropriate use, you know, like maybe when you're in pain after surgery, but just for fun or because your friends are trying it. We haven't had any decent programs that way. And this is what we've said to the federal and provincial governments. You have to start training our youth very young now. The world is a very different place. We're no longer living in the Qing dynasty where you can just send in the army. Okay?
不過你其實亦都提出一樣嘢，我覺得亦都真係要問你嘅，就係話你提出呢個酒，其實一直以嚟都聽到有一個講法，就係話即係譬如大麻比較起香煙同埋酒嚟講咧，即係嗰個危害性係冇咁大嘅，呢個係咪真嘅咧？
It's true. It's absolutely true. We have the data from the Chief Medical Health Officer for the City of Vancouver and the province. Alcohol is our #1 problem. Alcohol is so available in our province that I think people can get access to alcohol almost within 5 minutes of their house by driving or walking, which is huge availability. And a lot of our money that we spend in sort of treatment options or for alcohol treatment, for smoking, lung cancer, and all those types of things. So alcohol and smoking and tobacco is probably our biggest cost and has the worst effects. Marijuana, so far we haven't seen the same type of difficulties. But then again, because the federal government wouldn't allow us to research it, we don't really know if it's good or bad. And that was one of the biggest failings of the federal Conservatives. If you're going to say no to something, right, at least let us do the research to make sure what you're saying is true. Otherwise, it'd be Donald Trump all the time, be nothing but alternative facts. And that's what the Conservatives gave us. Under the federal Liberals right now, they're saying, okay, if we legalize marijuana, you have to do the research on it to make sure it actually works for what people say it does. Or does it actually have the harms? We just don't know. In fact, it's the same issue in the United States. They didn't allow research, so nobody knows if it's good or bad. Anecdotally, we don't see people coming in for cancer caused by marijuana. We don't see people coming in for other types of issues because of marijuana, mental illness or anything. In fact, we see the opposite anecdotally. And I'd like to verify that using real research.
咁你其實嗰樣嘢我亦都覺得都幾有趣嘅，即係其實講緊話，即係唐人同即係西方去睇毒品問題咧，亦都有一個關鍵嘅因素咧。頭先你講緊就係話呢個酒個害處咧係比大麻遠為高嘅。咁而即係酒咧，其實喺北美洲咧係曾經係被禁過嘅，而係禁唔成。咁係咪呢個因素係令到即係西方人對於呢啲毒品啊嘅睇法就同所謂東方人唔同咧
？Yeah, I think so. I think it comes from there are big cultural differences. I think we have to understand. In Europe, alcohol is part of the culture. You can have a glass of wine with dinner. Right? You know, children drink very young, but they're also trained to drink appropriately. They know it's for refreshment. They know it's when to stop. They don't drink and drive. In North America, we tried the prohibitionist approach, and that's because, you know, who came to North America from Europe? It was the Puritans. It was the religious group that said, you know, abstinence is the best way. And we saw in the 1920s it didn't work. And we still continue to work under the model that abstinence and prohibition is going to be the best way. In China, it was very similar, and I think this came from our history during the Opium Wars, is when the British introduced opium into China, it caused the same types of problems, and the Chinese had no other method but then try to stamp it out using military means, which also failed, which we lost Hong Kong and a number of things, and was also referred to as China's great shame. But what is very clear, when you start education young, and it's part of your culture, and you treat addiction like a health problem, it works. You can solve addiction issues. What we've done in Europe, they've actually taken that approach. In North America and Asia, they've taken the prohibitionist approach. And in North America, we've seen this huge problem. In Asia, we're seeing a growth in the problem, which if they don't get a handle on it, it's going to spiral out of control just like here. What's really fascinating for me on this whole fentanyl problem, it started right here in BC because it's the closest to Asia. Now we're getting calls from the city of Winnipeg and Toronto, Montreal. Right now, Alberta's witnessing the most deaths in its history to the same thing. So it's spread across the country. We even had people from New York City visit us saying, okay, how are you dealing with this crisis? Because it's showing up in New York and in Phoenix, Atlanta, and throughout the United States as well. So the United States, with its army and its navy and police forces and DEA and arresting everybody, are still experiencing the same problem, whereas in Germany, whereas in Switzerland, France, Spain, and Portugal, 0 problems. In fact, Portugal recorded 0 overdose deaths for the first time last year. 0. It was in the European Drug Report of 2016. Unbelievable approach. Just worked beautifully.
好啦，咁我就想問下你啦，即係我唔知你有冇同你個父母親或者你嘅長輩傾過呢個話題啦。你有冇辦法係可以說服得到佢用呢個西方或者歐洲嘅模式去解決個毒品嘅問題咧？
Well, you know, it's been difficult. In fact, even the health minister, Terry Lake, said, oh, it's going to mean a big shift in thinking. But I work with data. I will only do what works. If I have proof that something will work, I'll do it. I'll advocate for it. In fact, Senator Larry Campbell, the former mayor of Vancouver, this weekend said, we have to provide prescription opiates by doctors to help people get off drugs. He came out and said it. He said if the federal government doesn't do it, I'll do it myself as a senator. So, you know, if anybody argues with me, I'll pull up the data and say, this is what works. We know it works. Lots of research. In fact, some of that research was done right here in Vancouver. The Naomi trials, the Salome trials. And our government's ignoring their own research. It's unbelievable. So whether you believe it or not, I will always be driven by the evidence. And I've managed to convince my parents that when I show them the evidence, it's true. It works. In fact, I'm getting a lot more buy-in from some of the older Chinese community. Certainly the younger ones who are educated at university now are very much in support of legalizing prescription opioids and helping the addicts that way. So there's a change occurring, I think. And I'm hoping it'll land up in the European model, which has been demonstrated, proven to save lives. Because our other approach for the last 50 years has been pretty lousy.
OK， 好啦，嗱，今日時間到呢度啦，咁啊，大家已經頭先睇過啦，就尤其是我哋位專家咧，就 Kerry Jang 咧就講佢嘅睇法。咁啊，大家如果想繼續翻睇咧，即係再重新再睇過究竟佢聽清佢講啲咩咧，係可以上YouTube 咧，就我哋農場電視咧呢個節目咧係有一個頻道嘅，咁啊可以重新睇翻呢一集或者其他咧，就我或者係BCD 之前訪問過嗰啲訪問咧，都可以喺裏邊揾得到嘅。今日時間到呢度啦，下個禮拜再見，拜拜。